Hey, well, I thought I'd talk about intuition today and give you some things to test about it. One of the things that came up for me is that addictions, see, everybody wants to, well, maybe not everybody, but I think most people want to be intuitive. They want the benefits of, their intuitions. And everybody has intuitions all the time. It's a function. It's a function of being anything. you know, be you a lion or a worm or a human, you have intuitions. So, but with humans, we also have addictions, and addictions often fly in the face of intuitions, and the addiction wins. If you intuitively realize, for example, that something is bad for you, but you're addicted to it, you're certainly not going to, you will like flatten that addiction. That intuition. I'm sorry. You will bury the intuition. Um, ah. So, when you're having a thought, let's say, and see, intuitions. Another thing is, intuitions look exactly like thoughts. It's hard to tell the difference, but thoughts are very different from intuition. Thoughts are things that you produce because you're just, that's what we do all day. We think, not such a good thing, but it's probably, just, it may be inevitable. One thing that, um, uh, that spiritual guide who used to be Herb Alpert. um, I can't, just his name just slipped right out of my mind. But he once he had this picture of Meher Baba in his book. He wrote "Be Here Now." Ram Dass, that's who it is, and he wrote "Be Here Now," and so he has this page where there's this picture of Meher Baba that he drew, and then he says, okay, you're into Meher Baba. Try this. Meher Baba said, just think about me for 1 minute. Like 1 minute a day is enough, and you'll be God realized. So try it now. Time a minute and see if you can think about Meher Baba. And then he puts all these things that are all written all over the page that would be like typical thoughts you might have, you know, that would interfere with thinking about Baba. I mean, it's hard to go 1 second thinking about anything that you choose to think about. It's just so easy to have, so many other things come into your mind. So, anyway, so most thoughts are not intuitions. Bottom line. Um, and but what you can do is you can use this. You say, um, "This is Baba's word. It's a gift from God. This ability to get a signal from God, not from yourself, not one of your thoughts, not even one of your intuitions, but something that God will tell you, yes or no." And you can ask, was that an intuition I was just having? And see if you get a signal like that's what my signal looks like. Um, then you might take it seriously. Who knows. Um, Now, if you have a huge amount of, like, there's a whole tide going against taking it seriously, the tide is just sweeping you along. You're like a bird before the wind. And, you test, yes, it's an intuition, but you're saying, no, no, that can't possibly be an intuition. It's just impossible. I don't really have intuitions. or, or I'm not a very intuitive person, or whatever. Which, if you think you're not a very intuitive person, you're probably not going to be asking this question anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. But if that happens, um, then you probably won't be able to take your intuition very seriously, because you just have, gigantic forces inside of you. And it's not all addiction. Um, Mostly they're things like, most things that are wrong with you. You have a lot of things, but funny thing, most people don't know there's anything wrong with them. When I talk to people, they just say, like, "Hey, it ain't broke, don't fix it." There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, fine. Listen, I only work here, and anyway, we're closed. So if you're fine and you don't need anything, turn the movie off, for God's sake. Why are you wasting your time listening to me? Um, but most of the things that are wrong with you are things that you've adopted because you weren't immune to something. Like, let's say somebody was influencing you in some way that you didn't want to be influenced, and so you adopt something to, like, not allow yourself to be influenced. And forever after, you can't let in a good influence because you just don't want to be influenced. So, and that's not an addiction. It's something completely different. We call them immune dysfunctions. And also, a lot of times the thing that's wrong with you is just you've got a virus, or you have a bacteria, or you have a fungus, or some such thing. It's a pathogen. So, and that will interfere with intuitiveness. It's hard to be intuitive when you're in pain. And those things produce physical, mental, and emotional pain. So, I'm starting to feel like I'm swimming upstream even talking to you, but I can let go of that, I mean, I just have to realize that I am giving something, and all it really is it came from Meher Baba. It's not from me, and I probably shouldn't identify too strongly with how people respond to it, because maybe somebody will come along and really get some value out of it. And it only takes one person to change the whole world. I have already done that. It just didn't change much. That's the problem, Like, Jesus changed the world. It just didn't change much. But he definitely changed the world. People are still, trying to let in that change as best they can. So that's a good thing, Of course, he really put out the maximum amount of effort to do it. And in my case, I think that I'm not quite up to that level of pitch, that Jesus was. I mean, it's just beyond my capabilities. So, if you discover, let's say, let me tell you something you can do for yourself. let's say that you discover, um, okay, that's an intuition, and then you have something that seems to be going counter to it, and you go, okay, is that an addiction? Was that some other immune dysfunction? Is that a pathology? You can ask questions about it. You can ask any question. That's what Meher Baba did. He gave you the ability to know anything, as long as you don't abuse it. I have seen a few people try to win the lottery with this. They didn't win. So, use it wisely. Be in touch with Meher Baba's love. Like, you use this for that. Use this to be in touch with that. Somebody gave you something and they didn't want anything back from you, you know?